Imagine finding a path, a way to live well, maybe cultivate some inner purity.
A foundation for practice.
Exactly. But what if that path wasn't just like one single road, but had different levels, starting simple but leading somewhere really profound?
That's a great way to put it. It suggests growth is, well, dynamic.
Yeah.
Different stages, different levels of commitment, maybe.
Yeah, and that's what we're diving into today. We're looking at Sila, pronounced roughly Sila, which is moral conduct.
And we're drawing from a really interesting Dharma talk, specifically from the tradition linked with Luang Pu Wat Paknam.
Right. These teachings often take core Buddhist ideas and just unpack them in a very practical way.
They do, often going right back to the original scriptures, the Pali texts.
So our sources today are excerpts from that talk, which does exactly that, references the Pali. And we've also got a guide for some key Thai terms just to help us get the sounds right.
Yeah, navigating those terms is, well, it's part of understanding the context. We'll try to make them clear for you, focusing on the meaning, without getting too bogged down.
Okay, so our mission today: unpack how this talk describes Sila on different levels. It talks about a lower and a higher way.
Lower and higher understandings and practices. We want to see the foundation
Yeah.
and then how it supports more refined conduct.
Makes sense. So where do we start? Sila doesn't exist in a vacuum, right?
No, definitely not. To understand Sila, we really need to see it in its classic context. The Buddhist path is often summarized by 3 pillars: Sila, moral conduct; Samadhi, which is concentration or mental focus; and Paññā, wisdom or insight.
Sila, Samadhi, Paññā, the big 3.
Exactly. They support each other, strengthen each other. You can't really have one without the others working too.
And the source actually quotes a Pali passage about this.
It does. It says the Buddha explained these 3 very well. In many ways, anekapariyasayana. Sila samadhakata, samadhi samadhakato, paññā samadhakata. It's emphasizing how thoroughly the Buddha taught all 3.
Okay, foundational. But today, we're zooming in just on Sila.
Right. Our deep dive is on Sila. And the source asks that key question straight from the text. Kataka Sila samadhakata vagamata. How was Sila explained so well by the Buddha?
And the answer it gives is our roadmap for today.
Pretty much. It says, by both the lower method, that's Heṭṭhima Sīla, and the higher method, Uparima Sīla.
Lower and higher. Got it. So let's start at the beginning, the lower level.
Okay. Kataka Heṭṭhima Sīla samadhakata vagamata. How is it explained through this lower method?
And who is this aimed at?
Well, the talk mentions the Arya Savako, the noble disciple, first, but it really applies much more broadly to all Buddhist followers, basically.
So lay people and monastics both.
Yes, both kare, hat, that's pronounced kare, hat, meaning lay people, and ban.pg edi cheat. Ban.pgla, right? Cheat, those who've gone forth. The monastics. It's the baseline.
And the core of this baseline, this lower Sila, is the 5 precepts.
Exactly. Abstaining from 5 key actions, universally known.
Okay, let's walk through them based on the source. First one, abstaining from killing living beings.
In Pali, patipata payujato hoti. And the source gets quite specific about what counts as a living being, a payo.
Oh yeah, what does it include?
Anything with life, really. Whether it's born from an egg or from moisture or a womb or even arises spontaneously. It's a very broad definition.
And violating it isn't just accidental. There are factors involved.
Right. The source mentions 5. There has to be a sentient being. You have to know it's a sentient being, patanya. You need the intention to kill. You make an effort, and then, well, the being dies.
Intention seems key there.
It is key. And this is where the source offers a really critical insight, I think. It emphasizes that a noble disciple, an Arya Savako, has no intention to kill.
So it's not just about not killing, it's about reaching a state where the thought, the intention, doesn't even come up.
Precisely. It's about cultivating that mindset, cutting off the intention at the root. That's the real practice here.
Wow, okay. That's deeper than just rule following. Second precept.
Abstaining from taking what is not given. Dinadana paivirato hoti.
So stealing, basically, or more than that.
It covers stealing, yes, but also things like cheating, fraud, anything acquired inappropriately. Again, there are factors. The object belongs to someone else. You know it does. You intend to steal it. You make an effort, and you actually take it.
And the source has an example for this one, too.
Yeah, a great one about sincerity. Imagine someone testing you by leaving money around. First 1,000, maybe then 1,000,000, then even more, 1,000,000,000.
Okay.
A truly sincere person, the source says, like a noble disciple, wouldn't just resist taking it. The thought of taking it wouldn't even cross their mind. They'd be focused on protecting it for the owner.
So again, it's about the inner state, the lack of intention.
Exactly. And that kind of sincerity, the source notes, brings happiness to yourself and to others.
Right.
It builds trust.
Right. Okay, third precept, abstaining from sexual misconduct. Kamesu michakara paivirato hoti.
The source is quite direct here. It defines the violation in terms of inappropriate physical contact. The Pali phrasing is about making path touch path. It stresses the negative consequences, the suffering it causes.
And for lay people, karhat, this mainly means fidelity.
Generally, yes, fidelity within marriage or committed relationships. And like the others, the source repeats. A noble disciple has absolutely no intention to violate this.
No intention. It also mentioned something about long-held desires being a test.
It does. It frames those persistent desires, maybe habits of mind, as a real test of your resolve, your commitment to Sila. Facing them strengthens you.
Makes sense. Okay, fourth, abstaining from false speech. Lying. Nafada paivirato hoti.
And the source has a really nice way of putting this one. It says, truth brings ease. Lying brings trouble. Imagine if everyone was truthful, you'd only need one word. Things would be so much simpler, easier.
Huh, yeah, imagine that. So what constitutes a violation here?
4 factors. The matter has to be untrue. You have the intention to deceive. You make the effort to speak the lie. And someone else understands it as fact.
Intention to deceive again.
Always the intention.
Yeah.
And for the noble disciple, no inclination to lie. The source says they'd stand firm in truth, even if someone threatened to kill them. It's about cultivating that deep, unwavering truthfulness in the mind.
That's a serious commitment to integrity. Okay, number 5, the last of the lower precepts.
Abstaining from intoxicants that cause heedlessness.
Mm. So alcohol and drugs.
Yes, sudrasas il, demerit arj, pronounced surazit anaj, are drinks or substances causing intoxication. But the crucial part is pamadainhana, the basis of heedlessness, or quam pramat in Thai, carelessness, lack of mindfulness.
And this is where the source makes a really big claim, right?
It does, a really striking point. It says this 5th precept is the most important of the 5.
The most important, more than not killing or stealing. Why?
It gives 2 powerful analogies. First, it's like the trunk of an elephant. Yeah, essential for its life, its function. Without that stability, the whole thing collapses.
Okay, and the second analogy.
It's like the main gate of a city. If that gate is breached, if you violate this precept, the whole city is vulnerable. It leaves you open to breaking all the other precepts.
Ah, I see. How does it connect that?
It links it back to the 3 root defilements. Rasakat, that's rasaka, greed, tisa, aversion, and nohos is delusion. It says delusion, zonos is primary here, and intoxicants are the very foundation of quam pramat, that heedlessness.
Because if your mind is clouded, you lose the mindfulness needed for the others.
Exactly. You lose the awareness, the self-control.
Yeah.
You're far more likely to act on harmful intentions, to kill, steal, lie, engage in misconduct. All wholesome states depend on not being heedless.
So breaking this one undermines the whole foundation.
Pretty much. It undermines your ability to keep the other sincerely. And of course, the noble disciple has 0 intention to consume intoxicants.
So summing up this lower Sila, it's the foundation, the 5 precepts. But it's not just a checklist. It's about really cultivating that inner state, that lack of intention to transgress, like the noble disciple, cleaning up your act from the inside out.
That's a great summary. It sets the stage perfectly for thinking about, well, what comes next? What does the source mean by the higher level?
Right, the Uparima Pariyena, the higher method.
Before diving deep into the monastic rules, the source does briefly mention something for lay people seeking a bit more depth.
Ah, yes, the additional precepts, Heṭṭhima Sīla.
Exactly, the 8 and 10 precepts. These are seen as a step up, specifically aimed at reducing attachment to sense pleasures.
Like what kind of things?
Things like avoiding eating after midday, giving up entertainment like music and shows, not using perfumes or adornments, avoiding high or luxurious beds and seats. It's about simplifying, reducing sensory input and attachment.
And just like the 5th precept was highlighted for the 5, does the source single out anything in these?
It does, particularly in the 10 precepts kept by novices or very devout lay people. It highlights the precept against receiving money or gold as being critically important for detachment.
Interesting. So Heedlessness is the key weakness related to the 5 precepts, and maybe attachment to wealth is a key one as you move towards deeper renunciation.
That seems to be the implication. These additional precepts are sort of a bridge, preparing someone, perhaps, for the full monastic discipline.
Which brings us to the higher Sila proper, the Uparima Sīla, and this is primarily for
the bhikkhu, the fully ordained monk.
And the source gives a description.
Yes, a very potent Pali passage.
Ida bhikkhu silva hoti, paimokha savuto viharati, akarabokara sampanno, anumate suva jesuvaida sevi, samadaya sikati sikapade sutti.
Okay, let's break that down. Ida bhikkhu silva hoti. Here, a monk is virtuous. What does virtuous mean in this context? It's different from a layperson taking vows. A monk's sila is established through the formal ordination ceremony, the Ñātikatutta Kamavaka, performed by the monastic community. The source calls this Abhariyanta Parisuddha Sila, boundless purity of Sila.
Boundless? How so?
It refers to the sheer scope of the Vinaya, the monastic code. While the Patimokkha, the core rules recited regularly, has 227 rules for bhikkhus in the Theravada tradition, the full Vinaya is vast. The source even mentions a figure like 3 million precepts cited in another text, just to give a sense of its comprehensiveness. It certainly includes the principles of the 5 precepts, but goes way, way beyond.
Wow. Okay, so that's Silava. Then, Patimokkha Savar Sabuto Viharati dwells restrained by the Patimokkha.
Right. Those core 227 rules are seen as critically important, the essential framework. The source acknowledges they are difficult to keep, but expresses respect for those who uphold them diligently.
Next part. Akara gokara sampanno, accomplished in conduct and resort. 2 things there. Conduct, akara, and resort, gukutara. Let's start with conduct.
Akara, pronounced isistara, is about discipline in body, speech, and mind. Physically, it's things like maintaining a mindful posture, keeping the eyes cast down, looking only a short distance ahead, like a yoke's length.
Very specific. And speech.
Avoiding harsh, divisive, or irritating speech. Keeping speech gentle and beneficial.
And mind.
This is crucial. Ingresavra, sense restraint. Not getting caught up in liking or disliking what you see, hear, smell, taste, touch. Maintaining equanimity, cultivating metta, loving kindness, ensuring the mind stays wholesome.
Okay, that's conduct, akara. What about resort, gokara?
Gokara is where a monk goes, the environment they place themselves in. It's contrasted with agokara, improper resort. The source lists examples of places a monk should avoid.
Like what?
Associating with certain types of people, like widows or prostitutes, in ways that could cause scandal, going to bars, opium dens, places of entertainment, public drinking spots, even watching things like military parades.
Why those specific things?
The principle is to avoid situations that could lead to criticism, temptation, or are just generally unwholesome and distracting from the path. Proper resort is anywhere that supports the practice and doesn't compromise their sila or reputation.
Makes sense. Keep the environment clean, basically. Then, anumatesu vajesu bayadasavi. Seeing danger in the slightest faults. This sounds intense.
It really is. It speaks to an extremely refined level of conscience. How sensitive are you to potential wrongdoing?
How sensitive does the source suggest?
It uses some strong analogies, like immediately recoiling from even a tiny speck of dirt or, say, feces because you see its impurity.
Oh, okay.
Or like a chicken wing instinctively pulling back from fire. There's an immediate, almost reflexive withdrawal from anything perceived as unwholesome, even minor things. The mind actively pulls back. The intention doesn't even get close.
Perceiving the danger in the smallest slip-up, that requires incredible mindfulness.
It does. And the final part, samadaya sikati sikavade siddhi, undertaking and training in the training rules.
What does that mean practically?
The source uses the image of the great ocean. All the rivers flow into the ocean, but the ocean itself stays within its shores. It doesn't overflow. Similarly, a monk practices diligently within the boundaries set by the Vinaya, upholding all the training rules contained within it. They live bounded by that discipline.
So this higher Sila, it's this incredibly rigorous, comprehensive discipline for monastics, aimed at profound purity, requiring constant mindfulness, sense restraint, careful attention to environment, and this highly sensitive conscience, a massive undertaking.
Absolutely. It's a full-time commitment to purification.
So we've seen the lower Sila, the foundation for everyone, focused on intention and the 5 precepts, and this higher Sila, the extensive monastic discipline. How does the source connect these for the listener, for you?
Well, it really stresses that both levels, the principles behind them, are foundational for all followers, whether you're Karin, Hatley, or Ban.Piad.Shit.
Monastic. So even if you're practicing the 5 precepts, the underlying principles of restraint, mindfulness, and seeing danger and faults are still relevant.
It's very relevant. The source makes a strong point. Practicing Sila genuinely is essential. If you're just going through the motions or keeping precepts outwardly but inwardly harboring intentions to break them when convenient, well, the source says you're basically deceiving yourself.
Self-deception, stuck in defilement.
Exactly. You can't really progress. So the goal, whether you're keeping 5, 8, 10, or the 227 precepts, is to establish yourself in genuine Sila, aiming for that sincerity, that lack of intention to transgress that we see described in the Noble Disciples.
It's about the quality, the depth of the commitment, not just the number of rules.
Precisely. Cleaning your conduct from the inside.
Okay, so we've journeyed through Sila, this crucial foundation. We've seen it through these 2 lenses. The lower method, focusing on the 5 precepts and intention, and the higher method, detailing the monk's extensive discipline.
Both emphasizing sincerity, mindfulness, and that crucial element of intention.
Right. And to leave you with something to think about, drawing from the source, remember how it highlighted intoxicants leading to heedlessness as the main gate for the lower precepts? Breaking that one makes you vulnerable everywhere else.
And how, for the 10 precepts, it potentially highlighted receiving money or gold representing attachment as similarly critical for those aiming for deeper renunciation.
So here's the question for you to consider. What might be your main gate? What's the one habit, the one attachment, maybe the one area of heedlessness in your life that, if you really committed to bringing it under the discipline of Sila, could potentially unlock greater moral strength, greater clarity, maybe even greater freedom for you?
It's a powerful question for self-reflection. What's the linchpin in your own ethical practice?
Something to mull over. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive.
Thank you. It was a great discussion.